Hi there, my name is Kronenberg and welcome to my channel. This is a film review of There's a Girl in My Soup. It's a comedy, came out in 1970. IMDb is an X, Amazon is a 12. It's an hour and 35 minutes. Amazon is 4.1 out of 5. IMDb is 5.7 out of 10. Just under 3,000 people reviewed that one. I read both synopsises because they're kind of different. So Amazon is two unique comic talents. Academy Award nominee Peter Sellers and Academy Award winner Goldie Hawn join forces in a saucy romance about an amorous gourmet whose goose is cooked when he falls for a giddy young temp. What? What the hell does that even mean? Okay, so IMDb is in their Set Your Game, an egotistical and womanizing television host meets his match, Marion, who seeks to remain one step ahead of him. Yes, that is, but Amazon? An amorous gourmet whose goose is cooked me for... okay, well, whatever, I have no idea. So, the director is Roy Bolton, who did Suspect. Producer, well, there's three of them, but with producers on, we have Ray again, who did The Family Way, and MJ Frankovich, who did Marooned. Music was by Mike Dabo, who did Mallrats. The cast, well, we have Peter Sellers, who was Robert Danvers, who was in Being There, and obviously Pink Panther. Goldie Hawn was Marion, who was in Overboard. Tony Britton, who was Andrew, who was in Sunday Bloody Sunday. And Nicky Henson, who was Jimmy, who was in Blitz. It was filmed in St Michael's Church in Berkshire, however you want to say it. Hotel Carlton in Alpes Maritimes in France. Shepperton Studios in Surrey. And Chelsea Embankment in, Chelsea. And it's adapted by Terence Frisbee from his own play. The Broadway production of There's a Girl in My Soup opened on October the 18th, 1967 at the Music Box Theatre and ran for 322 performances. My God. Gig Young and Barbara Ferris were in the original cast. So, I did pay for it because I didn't mind. It was only £3. It's also a suggested film, so there we go. Now, I haven't done one of these kind of films before. I've done a few comedies, and this guy who's suggested it, I've reviewed a few, so it was kind of interesting. So credits has Goldie Hawn in various poses with a jolly intro song, obviously a 60s, so it's that kind of music. And even the credits have this funny wording, only a little bit about the wardrobe and stuff like that. It's quite interesting. And now it starts with Wedding and Peter Sellers looking dapper in a top hat and tails. Now I must admit, him speaking posh is very good. So if you haven't, why not? If you've seen Pink Panther, not necessarily the first one because that's where he speaks he's not doing slapstick comedy, but the second, third and fourth is where he's kind of doing this slapstick comedy thing. And he goes, there's a bear in my soup and all that kind of thing, and he's speaking French. But in this one, he's kind of, I'll try and do it, but bear with me, he's good. Oh, hello there. Oh, he looks fantastic, doesn't he just? And he speaks very eloquently. It's like, what the hell? I wasn't expecting that at all when he spoke. I thought, what the hell? I had a feeling at this point there'd be a few innuendos, and yeah, there was, kind of. It wasn't like any Carry On films. If you've seen a Carry On film, you know what I mean. If you haven't, just pick one. I can't remember which the good ones are. There's Carry On Rome is very... Is it Carry On Rome? I can't remember. The Rome one, anyway. That's got quite a few innuendos. So he's looking thrilled to be there. So he's walking around, because obviously he's a famous TV personality. And at one point, this couple says to him, tell me, do you have a proper job when you're not doing this television stuff? And he goes, I perform abortions, didn't you know? And then just walks away as they both look shocked. And it's like, okay. But he's a smooth talking guy. I was curious if it's going to trip him up. It does in a way. So he's meeting Andrew in his garden, as in Andrew's garden. His son runs up and says, Abby won't let me kick the ball. She keeps picking it up. And then he says, well, then kick her. And she'll put it down. And he goes, oh, okay then. And then next minute you hear this kid going, ow. And then she goes, Daddy, Daddy, Barnaby, which I'm assuming is the kid, kicked me. Well, then kick him right after. Kick him back, kick him back. And she goes, oh, all right. Parent of the year, isn't it? Parent of the year. So he's met Goldie, right, and he's taken her back to his place. Now, he's a bit unsure at this point, because I think he would normally get a reaction about the drink collection. So he's kind of like the suave, sophisticated bachelor, you know. I've got all this is my bachelor pad. I can, because I'm whatever his name is, I'm like the best person in the world. Is it Andrew? I've forgotten his bloody name. Richard, I think it is. Robert says, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm Robert Danvers, and you can just get anybody in bed, sort of thing. But anyway, he offers her a drink collection from his massive drink collection. He goes, do you have any beer? And he's like, no, I got some Robin ethanol if you want to use that. Then he tried to take a coat, and she was like, no, not a chance. So he points her to the place where the cloakroom is, so she wanders off. Then he clicks his button on the remote, music kicks in, this kind of like suave, that kind of music. And then he goes into another room, finds another remote control, presses that, and this cover lifts off his bed, mirrors all on show. It's like, oh my god. And I was looking at his wall, he has I think a carving off a book. It's a certain type of book this guy would read, if you know what I mean. If you don't know, I think it was an Indian book for somebody who might be a bachelor. I think. Anyway, it was interesting hearing the back and forth between them both about why she's there. She could have won a debating contest, I must admit. She never gave up. She always answered a question with a question, which obviously meant that he couldn't do his suave attempts because they weren't working as normal. He was doing his usual, oh, well, you know this, and he's just going, well, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, I mean, so he was not used to that, I don't think, because all the other women would just go, ah, and just swoon at his feet. Now, it may be rated a 12 on Amazon. What was it on IMDb? So IMDb's an X, which I think is X-rated, is an 18, is it not? I think it is. Whereas Amazon's a 12. But, I mean, I suppose the things were just like typical James Bond films at a certain point. But at one point, Goldie Hawn got up, right, and went to get a dressing gown. She didn't have much to leave in the imagination, let me put it that way. I was reading about it in IMDb. She didn't really want to do that scene. But, yeah, it was a bit, really? But sort of thing. Now, at a wine tasting event in France, she was sniffing the wine, swirling, spitting it out. Well, they were, you know, the usual kind of thing. And then spit it out. And then I'd do the same as Goldie. Why waste a decent glass of wine? If you're going to do this wine tasting where you just spit it out, just give somebody about a thimbleful. Don't pour a full glass and say, yeah, I have this, and then lob it into the bucket. And what's the point? What's the waste of wine? Just neck it. Anyway, so she's been necking this wine down as they walk in with a group into a huge wine cellar with organ music that sounds like they're walking at a wake. He's walking and talking French and getting really into it all. She's staggering behind, hair all over the place. She's doing the I'm trying to act sober walk. If anybody's had any alcohol before and you walk through town and you're thinking, it's okay, I'm completely sober. You're not. You're trying to walk, you're trying to talk normal, you think you're talking normal at the bar, the barman thinks, bloody hell, mate, you've had enough, and you're like, oh no, I'm speaking perfect English, even though you're coming out like, oh, I just want a beer, please. It's just like, yeah, she was doing that. But anyway, it didn't end well. He had to stump up for a few bottles he never planned on buying. It's a nice song that's on while they're driving, a 60s song, great lyrics, The Lady's in Love or something like that. I'm going to look it up, see if I can find it. It's a typical 60s, 50s song. Now, I love the way they're enjoying their time in France when they arrive at hotels and restaurants, which is what gets him in trouble in the end. But it's quite interesting watching that bit. That's quite fun. Jimmy. So Jimmy and Andrew are meeting in Robert's apartment, right? So Andrew's the third wheel. Or Goldie's kind of the mediator. It's so bizarre. Now, I have a feeling what she's doing, but these two are circling each other like enemies. In fact, Andrew at one point said, when you've shaken, come out fighting. It's like, yeah, they look like they're about to punch each other. But then I thought I knew what was going to happen, but then again, I was completely wrong. There's something weird completely happened. I'm not going to say what it is. Sad music's on his phone. Alright, so something's happened. I'm not going to go into it. Otherwise, it'll tell you the end of the film. I'm not like Wikipedia, when you look on there and think, oh, let's have a look at the synopsis of the film. Synopsis is usually a little bit that IMDb say. No, the synopsis on Wikipedia, for just don't bother, is the beginning, the middle, and the final bit at the end. In other words, don't bother. So he stood there. Sad music's on thing. It's kind of like, and then the phone rings and goes, and the music just instantly stops. I thought, I've not heard that before. Like I said, the ending wasn't expected at all, but then again, that's good. Because there's so many times you watch a film, not necessarily comedies or anything like this, but usually action or whatever, and you all know the ending. You all know the story. If it's an action film, you have a good guy and a bad guy. The good guy's doing really well, but the bad guy doesn't like it. So the bad guy gets one up on the good guy. La 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 la. There's usually a woman involved or whatever. So we have all that lot. Then we come along. The bad guy and the good guy have a fight. Usually the bad guy gets punched or sliced with a knife, say once, usually 2 times. I would say usually. If you notice it, you'll see that in the fights. There's usually a knife. He gets stabbed once, or he'll get slashed again, punched. Yeah. But then he comes out fighting, knocks the bad guy down, and comes out as the winner. It's the same scenario whatever film you watch. James Bond, Jason Statham, whatever you want to watch, it's the same scenario. Every bloody time. Every time. But on some films, the ending isn't what you expect. I've seen a couple of John Carpenter's films. I'm not going to... Well, I'll say They Live. Brilliant ending. Wasn't expecting that at all. And there's a few other films that have got the ending that are not what you expect. And it's the ones that are not what you expect that make the film even better. Because you think, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting this. Da-da-da-da-da. And same with this one. I thought it was very good. It was funny in parts. I'm going to give it a 7. Anyway, hopefully if you enjoyed watching and listening to the film review of There's a Girl in My Soup, please subscribe to my channel. I've got plenty of other film reviews, quite a few comedies, not many, but I'm building them up. Please subscribe subscribe, like I say. Leave a comment in the comment box below if you've seen this film. Curious. But yeah, it was a very interesting film. I've not done one of these before, so it was interesting to try something a bit different. Okay, well, thank you and goodbye.